Welcome to the world of intellectual property securities, a revolutionary new way to value, monetize, and operate intellectual property and fund new IP of all kinds. Intellectual Property Securitization Corporation expects to launch its IPO on NASDAQ in 2026. Its ticker symbol will be IPSE. The Bowie bonds, also known as the Pullman bonds, were misconstrued in the press and the media as intellectual property securitization. The IP was then used as a guarantee of a normal loan. It was thus collateralized intellectual property obligations. Inspired by the Real Estate Investment Trust, Mark Deschneaux conceived the Intellectual Property Investment Trust by simply replacing real estate by intellectual property. IPSE is the culmination of 25 years worth of work that began in 1998 by Mark Deschneaux, its creator, developing a new process of securitization. This method is protected by a business process patent owned by Intellectual Property Securities Corporation, exclusively for use in the entertainment field and for implementation of an intellectual property securities market sector on a securities market such as NASDAQ, CBOE, or MIAX. This method transforms intellectual property assets into digital assets called IP securities that can be listed and traded on public markets to raise capital, determine value, create transparency, and generate liquidity. In doing this, IPSE is creating an entirely new asset class of IP securities, allowing for the fractionalization of ownership of any intellectual property and/or its associated revenues in a highly flexible yet controllable format, backed by the certainty of decades of securities case law to protect its owners, issuers, and investors. The most obvious and immediate applications include the creative fields involving copyright, such as movies, music, and publishing, and the industrial fields where patents are prevalent, such as pharmaceuticals and technology. The applications and related opportunities for growth are endless. The unique innovation behind IPSE fundamentally changes the concept of securitization, from traditionally being a debt-related process to instead securitizing an asset directly. Intellectual property, often referred to as IP, is intangible property that stems from creativity, protected by patents, trademarks, and copyrights. In 2021, IP-intensive industries contributed 35% of US GDP, amounting to more than $5 trillion. More than 40 million jobs are supported by IP-sensitive industries, more than a quarter of the US workforce. Income-generating IP is already estimated to account for more than a third of the total market value of all publicly listed companies in the US and is continuing to grow rapidly. Even so, this estimate ignores all value of intellectual property that does not generate verifiable income, such as inactive patents, copyrights, and trademarks. IPSE enables all intellectual property to be traded on a public market, thus allowing IP to be stated at a fair market value on companies' balance sheets for the first time in history. In most cases, this will result in a significant boost to the valuation of assets on companies' balance sheets. This will create a multi-billion-dollar annual revenue opportunity for IPSE. An IP security can represent a fractional ownership of IP or fractional ownership of current or projected revenue from IP, or any combination of the two. Past securitizations have all been debt instruments or guarantees of debt instruments, but IP securities are assets that have intrinsic value. As such, this new asset class is covered by existing securities law. IP securities can be independently valued and traded as assets in their own right. They have public transparency of content and pricing, as well as enjoy liquidity on the largest securities market in the world. They provide access through a securities market such as NASDAQ, CBOE, or MIAX for the general public to invest in this new asset class and for issuers to establish a market value for assets that may have been undervalued on balance sheets for years. There are two main objectives when securitizing IP. Firstly, monetizing the value of existing intellectual property, for example, a musician's songs, a writer's books, or a technology company's patents. And secondly, financing the creation of new IP. For example, funding R&D for a new drug, or financing the production of a new movie. The applications for IP securitization are infinite. They cover a multitude of different markets, legal forms, and industries. The only requirement is having definable registered rights associated with the IP to be securitized. This new IP securitization process can be expanded to almost any industry, and its application is not limited simply to patents, trademarks, and copyrights. It can also be applied to all types of intellectual property, no matter how esoteric. such as plant hybridization, semiconductor topologies, and others. IPSE is the only company in the world that has the ability to arrange the issuance of IP securities and provide related services to its creators, owners, and operators of intellectual property. Its exclusive lifetime of the patent license enables IPSE to securitize any intellectual property in the form of IP securities, arrange the financing of IP on public markets by listing them on NASDAQ, create secondary market transparency and liquidity through the brokerage of trading IP securities on NASDAQ, and license the IP securitization process to third parties for the development of asset securitization beyond IP. The key stages of IP securities issuance: defining and verifying the IP to be securitized, followed by the securitization process, which is initiated by the IP owners issuing IP securities. After that, IP securities can then be traded openly on the NASDAQ, and their initial public offering delivers funds raised from investors to the issuer. Those funds can then be applied in accordance with the IP securities offering documents, and the investors receive in return the benefits of fractional income and/or ownership also defined in the offering documents. There are a wide array of benefits which accrue from the creation of IP securities, ranging from financial and operational to social and environmental, many of which are truly game-changing. Key financial benefits include direct access to public funds, a shorter fundraising schedule, faster and cheaper money sourced from a much larger pool of potential investors, and therefore available capital. All this places the issuer in a much stronger position financially and operationally, creating an asset that can be valued and traded independently, as well as potential tax benefits in certain jurisdictions. Operational benefits to the IP owners include a greater flexibility and control, protection of creative integrity and vision, as well as accelerated IP development times and related project completion. IPSE provides an incredible opportunity for social transformation. Harnessing all these financial and operational advantages, IPSE's capacity to empower is unrivaled, providing the tools required for anyone to compete at the highest possible level. IPSE provides the opportunity for minority and underserved groups to own, finance, develop, and operate intellectual property and connected projects on their own terms, maintaining control over their content and the entire related process from end to end. In addition to its incredible ability to drive social impact, IPSE also serves as a unique tool to promote environmental and sustainability initiatives by providing a unifying platform for standardization, transparency, and liquidity in a sector that is frequently segmented and disorderly. IPSE revenues will come from three key sources: IP securitization, where fees are earned from the analysis of requests to securitize, and from both fixed and variable charges relating to the completion of securitizations; transaction fees, earned from the trading of any IP securities in the market; and from licensing the securitization process to third parties for the development of non-IP applications. The 5-year financial projections for IPSE have been prepared on the most conservative estimates possible. They assume that all revenue will be sourced from the movie industry alone, no industrial revenues from pharma or manufacturing or design, not even from other streams within the entertainment industry like music or publishing. And there has been no income attributed to the licensing of technology for other purposes beyond IP. So these figures only look at one of the three revenue sources mentioned earlier, and only from a single narrow industry use. They are nonetheless extraordinary numbers. Translating those highly conservative estimates into a projected equity value based on a modest EBITDA multiple, a multi-billion-dollar company is clearly emergent. A company that will very rapidly become highly cash generative. The main uses of net proceeds will go towards technology development, IPO-related expenses, and establishing a broker-dealer license. Technology will include the purchase of secure server hardware and the completion of settlement software development. The applications for the patented securitization process behind IFP securities extend way beyond intellectual property. There are a vast array of other opportunities to use the same process to define rights to other assets, thus creating clearly defined securities which today lack that certainty of definition. Imagine creating standardized securities that deliver ultimate liquidity, uniformity, and transparency to the often illiquid, chaotic, and inefficient markets of water, energy, and carbon credits. Imagine your tokens, coins, NFTs being traded on the NASDAQ versus the often hacked and illiquid, financially fragile exchanges which they are traded on now. Unlike most existing digital assets, IPSE's securitization methodology creates assets which benefit from certainty of definition and treatment under securities law and regulatory environment, versus taking the risk of regulatory prosecution. The market value of the application for this financial technology and the subsequent revenue potential for IPSE, whether using it exclusively itself or licensing it to other users, is quite astonishing. The founders and officers of the company have extensive experience in a range of highly complementary skills, including individuals at the forefront of specialized areas of finance and law, such as complex financial structuring and international securities law. The management team also benefit from private banking, media communications, and entertainment industry skills. The Ascent Board has recently been joined by Larry Namer, one of the luminaries of the entertainment industry, and a man synonymous with innovation, having founded E-Entertainment and lead content development and distribution in both China and Russia. The IPSE expects to launch its IPO on NASDAQ in 2026. This pre-IPO private offering is limited to $25 million for 10 million shares of common stock, representing 10% of the company. Shares are offered at a progressive price scale from $250 to $725 on a first paid, first served basis. Full details of the offering are available upon request in the private offering memorandum. Intellectual property that is currently valued on balance sheets under intangible assets is often underpriced and typically only includes estimates for IP that is presently yielding revenue. So no account is being taken of the immense potential of the vast reserve of latent existing IP or future IP creation. IP Securities provides a way to account and value both. This doesn't just affect a few large companies that are commonly associated with design and development, like Apple and Pfizer. There are wide ranges of different types of patents that affect almost everything we do. Design patents affect our shoes, cars, and soap powders, not just our phones. Utility patents impact every process of discovery, exploration, and manufacturing you could imagine. We tend to focus on the newest as being the most important, but in technology, IBM holds more active patents than any other company in the field of computer technology by a fact of 3 times. There is a corporate treasure chest of intellectual property value waiting to be unlocked through the creative application of IP securitization offered by IPSE. Intellectual Property Securities Corporation isn't just about finance. It's a symbol of trust, revolution, and the future of film financing. IPSE, reimagining cinema, redefining investment, be a part of the future.